Hey guys, Feuerrm here, and today Bebop94 and I will both be testing the Ginetta G60 in multiplayer in Asphalt 9 at 4 stars. We both got some quite good races, so be sure to watch till the end. I've applied all upgrades and the normal import parts, but I only had one epic for it, which I put on top speed, because this car is generally okay-ish in the other aspects, but its top speed is rather lacking, especially if you're going to be going up against C-class cars like I am a lot in this video. Yeah, this first race was done in Bronze League, but I believe all the other races in the video are in Silver League. So against cars like the Acura and Pininfarina, and cars like that that are 15 to 20, maybe even a bit more than that miles per hour faster than me. Bebop did his races in Silver League as well, so we're going to have a lot of good competition in this video. In this first race on Ancient Ruins, we are facing a couple Shelbys, an Elise, and a couple of DSE tenses as well. Now unfortunately here I'm a bit too high and go a bit over too far to the left, and yeah, you do wreck on that box if you hit it, so be careful there guys. However, I did notice the first and second place guys weren't actually all that far ahead of me, so of course I was going to try everything I could to catch up to them because I was not gonna let one little wreck allow me from beating all these other D-class kings, and I have just like that passed them, gone right through the middle of them. The thing about the Ginetta is that while at this point it is rather a forgotten car because it came out during the Jesco event, and people generally tend to have bad memories of the Jesco event, and because this car was never a real king of its class, being rather disappointing because we thought it was going to be a new king, it is still a decent multiplayer car, and I would say it is definitely one of the best D-class cars for multiplayer, being pretty good all around and being fairly agile, while also being a good 13 miles per hour faster than the Elise, the only other real agile-oriented car in the class. Now obviously it isn't quite as nice to drive as the Elise. People were hoping it would be, but it isn't. That's part of the disappointment with it. However, it is still pretty good, and from this race onward, we will see how it does against some of the C-class kings. A lot of Pininfarinas and Acuras, but we also get some Alfieris. We might even get a couple of Vencer Sarts and Aranera Hiceras. So we can see how this forgotten D-class car really performs against all these high-end C-class cars. Now do keep in mind, this is the rush season, so the average skill level of drivers might be a bit below of what we might find in one of the other seasons. However, in the current secondary season, the King of the Fall 3 season, you can't actually use this car in it, which is kind of odd considering that in the secondary seasons a lot of the time they like to allow you to use some of the more recent cars that have come out. I mean, they have ones like the Aranera Hicera, they have the other car that's in C-class, the Scalo, that I keep getting confused with this car because they're both orange in the garage. They look a lot alike, and they're both pretty close to the height of their classes while being decently good but not kings or anything. Anyway, that's why I'm testing this car in rush season, and Bebop did as well. Now, we've got an Acura on our tail, and that car is about 20 miles per hour faster than me, so I was not sure just how I was going to be able to beat him, but I went up this ramp after getting a bit slowed down after he pushed me to the side, but then after landing I was able to take the inside as he was drifting and just barely cross the finish line ahead of him. I'm very thankful he did not 360 me in that case. I have had way too many situations this season where people are trying to 360 me when I'm in the Ginetta and they're in a better car. And that is just about the most irritating thing that you can do in multiplayer. So if I can give some advice, don't do that. Here we have a race on the shortest track that you can find in multiplayer, which is Shen City. A fast car can get through it in under 50 seconds, and it is a 90-second track. Unless one of the Caribbean 90-second tracks is actually shorter, but I don't know of one. I do know, however, there is one that is quite short that does a wraparound, but I don't think it is considered to be a 90-second one. Although what's interesting is that in the past, only the 90-second tracks have been the ones that you can do loops around. All of the other ones, whether they be 30, 60, or 120, have all ended and started at different points, so you can't do that. But maybe with the Caribbean one, things are changing a little bit. I honestly would like to see a bigger variation of lengths of tracks in multiplayer, including some one-lap ones on the 60-second and 120-second tracks. I think that would bring a lot more variety to the table for different cars to have different strengths on. In the previous race, we beat 3 Acuras, and in this race, we beat 3 Pininfarinas, as well as a Rezvani Beast X and a Maserati Alfieri. This next race is also on Shanghai, and this one is quite interesting because it is basically a duel, because I get ahead of this Viper pretty quickly, and the DSE tents, I think that's what it was, disconnected early on. Maybe there wasn't even one. Maybe I'm just confused. But anyway, we've got a duel with this Acura now. And, well, the Acura, as I said earlier, is near 20 miles per hour faster than me. So I didn't think I was going to be able to catch up to him, but I was determined to, of course, try my best. And I accidentally turned caps lock on, so I turned it off, and that's what that thing was at the top of the screen. In case you ever see something like that, that's what it is. So I've actually managed to catch up to him a little bit around that corner because of taking it a bit differently. You see, the Acura, no matter how good it is, which is very good, it doesn't have the greatest handling capabilities. And this car definitely has some better of that. So I'm able to take these corners without drifting. Thankfully, again, he did not 360 me there. I take the slightly longer route, but still get through without a problem. And I didn't really even want to take the longer route there because I was afraid that he might have 360 me or he might have gotten knocked down on the jump. Again, as I said previously, it's a lot better to just take a slightly longer route to not risk getting knocked down. Now there, it was like, this race is so close all throughout it, but thankfully I was able to get ahead at the last moment because he took that slightly longer way toward the end, and I came in first. The interesting thing about that is that I've actually seen a lot of people taking that longer route, and I'm not entirely sure why. Now, I have noticed that in some cars that have very good handling, it ends up being sort of about the same time at the end, like, say, for example, a Dodge Viper going through there. Because they have good handling, they can keep speed throughout that very twisty section, and at the end, they can drift around the turn to shockwave out of it without losing too much speed. That's not something that most cars can do, though, so I would still recommend always taking the left route there in pretty much every car, because honestly, most people do not know that right route very well after not taking it for so long. And so even if it may be slightly faster for some cars, which I honestly doubt, it's going to be less reliable for most people. And this is kind of something weird that I've actually noticed quite a bit recently in Asphalt 9 multiplayer. Like in the past couple months, there are a bunch of routes that people used to go all the time, and then other people found that those routes weren't as good as some other one, though people started going on all the other routes. But then now they're going back on the previously known to be worse routes and actually doing okay on them. Another prime example of this is at the beginning of the Scotland track Wildlands, where you have the choice to either veer to the left or the right before you have to drift around to the right to go in the ship. Now for a long time, people have been mainly using the left route because it's been easier to keep speed to get into the ship, but some people have gotten very good at taking the right route and drifting around there and shockwaving out of it perfectly, such that if you're good at it, it actually might be faster in some cars now. I usually still go to the left because it's what I know, but a whole lot more people seem to be going right now. I have done it some myself, but it's one of those things that I just don't feel comfortable with being able to go faster going that way than the other way. It has a bunch of like rocks and stuff you can wreck yourself on, so yeah, stick with what you are comfortable with in multiplayer, guys. Don't try to do a whole bunch of risky stuff just because other people are doing them if you don't know how to do them yourself. It's not gonna pay off in that case. So now we have a couple races from Bebop. So now we have a couple of races in which the Ginetta is driven by Bebop. And in this race, the main competition are a few Pininfarinas and a couple of Rizvani Beast X's. Now the Pininfarina is faster by nearly 20 miles per hour. The Rizvani is actually only faster by maybe 6 or 8 miles per hour. It goes maybe 194 to 196-ish. The Ginetta goes 188. So like, it's kind of close, honestly, in terms of speed, which is why this race actually ended up being so close. Because all throughout it, this Ginetta and the Rizvani were just going back and forth in terms of first and second position, just battling it out. These are the kinds of races that I find to be the most entertaining, and the kinds that I am most likely to put in my videos. Bebop crosses the finish line with only a 0.6 second difference between him and the Rizvani, which would have been the equivalent to 2 frames in the 30 frames per second Asphalt 8, and a Pininfarina comes in not far behind him. And in this final race, Bebop's actually in Gold League. He's facing cars like the Asterion and F12 TDF, and you will see that he does quite well against them. So again, a very good showing for this Ginetta that most people just really don't think of as being worth, well, pretty much anything. The thing is, it was also overpriced during the Jesco event. It cost way too much in order to get this car, and the drop rates were terrible with the syndicate coins, which were not easy to get. But I think both of us have figured out how to make this car a bit more worth what we spent on it by using it low down in multiplayer like this, where it is actually quite fun to drive. And he's actually in first against Asterions and F12 TDFs and things like that because of being in Gold League. And what's interesting is that those cars, while they are lower ranks, a lot of them actually, than this Ginetta, they are a lot faster. I've talked about this before, but it's a very, very interesting thing that cars of the same rank in higher classes are almost always faster than cars of the same rank in lower classes, or just better in general. So now it's time for my general review of this car. It is not a king of its class on any tracks, but it can do pretty good in multiplayer due to being fairly agile, and while its top speed isn't that great, it is decent for low down and definitely better than the Elise's. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Bebop for these races. Please like the video if you've enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt, Forza, and Minecraft content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!